video.
How you going, guys? Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. So for today's job we have two D11 Ripper lift cylinder rods in for repair. There's two of these on the back of a dozer, used in tandem for lifting and lowering the ripper frames while it's in operation, for digging the rippers in and then pulling them back out of the ground once they finish their rip or their cut. The issue we have with these two is they're both off the same machine and they have both failed. The first one failed, they changed out the cylinder, and within a couple of hours, to my understanding, the second one failed. I found it very bizarre and unusual why they had both failed. Generally the eyes break off the rods, but the eye has broken off one, and the threaded part where the piston screws onto has broken on the other. It's very uncommon for these to fail the way they did until we got them back to the workshop and we actually looked at both of them, that we figured out why they both failed within a couple of hours of each other. So it turns out that one of the cylinder rods has had an eye break off it at some stage of its life, and it has been repaired, which looks to be on the machine. Someone's just welded it back on out in the field, and so it wasn't removed from the machine, the cylinder disassembled, and it repaired correctly. Someone hadn't taken a great deal of care when they were attaching the rod to the eye, and they had damaged the chrome, and you can clearly see there's a weld joint there. After we worked that out, it then said to me that maybe the rod is too long or too short, which would have meant the two cylinders were fighting each other at its end strokes. When the cylinders are in operation, if one of the cylinders has been repaired and it is slightly shorter or longer than its partner, what happens is one cylinder will stop once it reaches its end stroke, and then the other cylinder will keep going until it reaches its end stroke, or vice versa on the return or the push cycle of the cylinder. And it is causing fatigue on the weakest point of the rod. There's a relief machined into the threaded area there, and that's where it has failed. So over time, fatigue has gotten to it because everything's starting to get kicked left or right, or it's kinking, or it's trying to push something into somewhere it doesn't belong. Over time, they crack and then they break. We do need to manufacture a new eye and two new rods, but before we get into that, we also have a seized nut on the end of the rod that holds the piston on. I'd say it is seized on there because of the amount of forces that were applied to it, and everything's been moving and everything's been stretched, threads might have been rolled over. So we do need to gas axe that nut off because we can't undo it. The customer did have a go at it, they couldn't get it, and I said, look, we're not going to spend any time doing it, let's just cut it off. It'll be cheaper in the long run, the nut's already damaged, and while I've got it apart, I'll quickly put it back together, throw a tape over it, and we'll see whether this rod was too long or too short. Cool little fact about this particular crane. This crane was the original one in the building. It is mounted directly in the center of the workshop and it goes from one end to the other. This is I think it's a Hitachi 2-ton hoist. This crane was originally used for lifting helicopters from one side of the shed over to the other side of the shed. Been very handy. That's why I put my press right in front of it. Right, so we did perform a die penetration test and it did reveal there is a crack forming in the same spot the other one broke. So there you go. So I've sort of put the eye back together where the rod and the eye would be. I have taken some measurements, worked out a bit of an average, and I believe this rod is about 5 mil longer than its partner, which is the reason why everything failed the way it did. 5 mil between two cylinders that are supposed to be a matching pair is a significant amount, considering there's not that much slop in the pins and bushes to allow for that sort of discrepancy to be between the two cylinders. So that's where it started, and this was the end result of that. One of the other signs that there was a problem here is there is a piece of chrome missing where it's been rubbing in the cylinder gland. Being that that damage is there on the rod, I do believe we're going to find corresponding damage in the cylinder gland itself. The rod has impacted the cylinder gland, which sort of tells you one of them's longer than the other, and we worked out the one missing the eye was a long one. Right, so now that that's done, we've got all that apart now, we're going to get on to making a new eye. The piece of material we're going to be using is a piece of BIS 80, so a high tensile plate, 110 mil by 250 mil in diameter. It is a lot larger than what I needed it to be because this was sort of a bit of a surprise to us, but it's all I have at the moment, being that it's start of the new year and we didn't have anything ordered in for this job, and being that it is only a round eye, a piece of solid bar or a round bit of anything would be perfect for an eye. So there's no weird shapes or contours to it. So this will be fine, but I do have a bit of work to do to this one. So now I'm going to go set it up in my smallest lathe and start machining. Right, so the piece of material is 250 mil in diameter. I need to reduce it down to 210. Not ideal to go and remove that much material, but being that's all I have in stock at the moment, that's gonna have to work. The smallest lathe I have can't swing 250 over the carriage. It can only swing about 230. So I do have to sit here and work the face down and keep reducing it so I can get all the way up to the chuck. The reason I don't pull it out and put it in my bigger machine is I've just finished cleaning that. I've changed out all the coolant. This machine's still really dirty, so I don't want any of that rusty, horrible dust and stuff going through a newly cleaned machine, and the coolant's just been replaced. So rather than dirty that up, I'll dirty this one up, deal with the little problem I've created for myself, and moving forward.
Where is he?
Righto guys, now that we've completed the machining on the new eye, we're now going to retrieve the good eye off the broken rod. So we're going to go ahead and get that set up in the machine and start removing the eye. So we've got the clearance. Hang on a minute. Well, there you go. Righto guys, so that was a bit of a surprise. I'd gone in to do my weld prep and I found a spigot, which is very unusual. It looked 100% genuine. From the factory, these rods and eyes are friction welded together. Someone did a really good job in blending everything and finishing off that rod, so you couldn't actually tell it was a welded joint. And that's why when you're doing stuff like this, you should just take it easy when you're getting to your final sizes. If I'd have been really hoeing into that and found that joint, I could have damaged the machine or damaged a tool, something like that. So just take it easy when you're getting into those final sizes. So it'll be interesting now once we get the eye off to find out whether they've put a spigot on the rod or they've put a spigot on the eye. Definitely not genuine. So after seeing the spigot and how it was attached to the rod, this is 100% not a genuine part. Had me fooled, I thought it looked pretty genuine to me. This could be a factory reman part, which would explain why it looked as good as it did. So that's the eyes done. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to machine up the rods and fit the eyes.
Go!
Yeah, come on. It wasn't even on straight. That's good. So there's a relief machined into the area there, into the end of the... So one of the other Right, so now that we've got the old... So now I'm going to go set it up in the lathe and start chewing material off it. Right, so now I'm going to go set it up in our smallest machine. Fuck off! They do share oil. Oh, who gives a fuck? Righto guys, now fucking bird, fuck off. Once the train fucks off. Put them inside each other. Spigot. Oh. Serious?
You strong guy.
Big guy. Can you imagine the fucking damage that would do if it come hooking out of the machine? It's gonna hit.
Oh dear.
What? You recording me?
Like hail.
It's hot. Fucking not cold. And sharp.
Death hail.
Death nail.
Please. Christ almighty. I'll be back here. Oh my lord.
Get on this side.
No.
I'm the boss when you're not around. I did what I want. Karen says it's okay.
On your bed. Come on. On your bed. On your bed. Hey. Good boy. Good boy. Lay down. Lay down.